Well, hello. This is Ed Underwood, one of the authors of Wicked Branson. You know, we promised early on when we made this Facebook page that we would share something with you that was left out of the book. And by that I'm referring to the unabridged version of the foreword to the book written by our friend Todd Robbins. Now, in case you don't know who Todd Robbins is, Google that name. You'll be glad you did. Todd is a national treasure as both a historian, an author, an entertainer, a performer, a creator of amazing things. And he was gracious enough to agree to write this foreword for the book because he had spent some time in Branson. Well, he asked me if he could say whatever he liked, and I said, go for it, man. The book is called Wicked Branson. He was excited. A couple weeks later, he sent me what I thought was an absolutely brilliant foreword to the book that captured perfectly his experience and observation about Branson, Missouri. Unfortunately, the publishers did not care for Todd's approach, thinking it being a little too harsh for the marketplace. So we trimmed it down until we got to a version that was acceptable but fairly innocuous. So it has always been my desire, and now is the moment, I'm going to share with you Todd Robbins' unabridged foreword to Wicked Branson. Here we go. Branson, the hospice of joy. I was chosen to host the Investigation Discovery TV series True Nightmares because I know a bit about the darker side of human nature. On this show I tell real tales of bizarre murder and mayhem, but none of them compare to the disturbing experience I had in a small town in southern Missouri. I spent the longest summer of my life in Branson, Missouri. I was hired to host a new show, Ripley's Believe It or Not, live on stage. The producer told me to clear off my calendar because I would be doing this show for at least 5 years. That 5 years turned out to be 15 weeks from Memorial Day until Labor Day. During those weeks, I experienced the rabbit hole that is Branson. It's an unsettling little town filled with desperation. There are dozens and dozens of hackneyed shows featuring people you have rightly never heard of, and has-been entertainers you didn't know were still alive. It's just like Vegas, without the class and taste. When an animal is backed into a corner and feeling its existence threatened, it will fight to survive with a terrifying banshee-like fury. You get a sense that if these performers weren't working in Branson, they wouldn't be working anywhere else. On stage, these folks are sweet as pie and filled with love. Off stage, they will gut anyone who gets in their way. Our show performed twice a day to meager audiences, but what they lacked in size, they made up for in small-mindedness. As the name of our show would imply, we turned offbeat, unusual acts. One of them was a bluegrass fiddler that was also a contortionist. He played Orange Blossom Special with one leg wrapped around the back of his neck. It was a quirky and a good act. You would think it would be perfect for the hick town of Branson, but you would be wrong. As part of the introduction of the act, I mentioned that he did yoga. We had people get up and storm out of every performance because of this. To these folks, the fact that he did yoga meant that he was a devil worshiper. The depth of the hate-filled idiocy of our audiences was staggering. The only good thing about the experience was that the checks cleared. We limped along through that summer, but the show closed right after the season ended. I was told that when school started, the audiences were made up of older people who were not as progressive in their attitudes. At our final performance, I had my car parked at the stage door with the motor running. I'm not joking about this. When the curtain came down, I stripped out of my costume, dressed as rapidly as I could, quickly thanked the crew, jumped into the car, and sped off. I was 50 miles down the road, out of town, before the audience had left the theater. I got back to New York City in time to do our Monday night magic show. It was so wonderful to be performing for an audience that had a brain in their heads and teeth in their mouths. The next morning I was standing on my roof in my apartment house in Greenwich Village, watching the World Trade Center towers fall to the ground. It was 9/11. As I wondered what the future would bring, I had but one thought in my mind. I would rather be dead in New York than alive in Branson, Missouri. And I hope you enjoy this book about this unique little town. Thank you so much, Todd Robbins, and thank you to all of you who have enjoyed the madness that is Wicked Branson in our book, Wicked Branson. You better get one quick. You never know who might be watching. Thanks.
Most Americans